Sometimes the most painful answer from God isn't no, it's not yet. Waiting is hard, especially when you've done nothing wrong, especially when the world moves on, and you're stuck in silence. This is the story of Joseph, a young man with a dream who found himself in a prison cell, not because he failed God, but because God had a bigger plan. And in Joseph's prison season, we learn what it truly means. When God says wait, Joseph's story begins in Genesis 37. He was just 17 years old, his heart full of vision, his eyes lifted toward destiny. God gave him a dream that one day he would rise, that even his brothers would bow before him. But instead of applause, he was hated, mocked by his own family. Then, betrayed, they didn't just laugh at him. They sold him, and suddenly, the dreamer became a slave in Egypt. Where was God? Didn't he give Joseph that dream? Why would God allow betrayal to be part of the process? Even in slavery, Joseph stayed faithful. He served in Potiphar's house with excellence and honor, and God blessed everything Joseph touched. But once again, doing the right thing cost him. Potiphar's wife desired him. Joseph refused. He chose righteousness. And for that, he was falsely accused and thrown into prison. Not for doing wrong, but for standing for what was right. Maybe you've been there. You did everything right. You followed God. You chose integrity. And yet, it led to more pain. Joseph didn't know it yet, but the prison wasn't a detour. It was part of the path, because in that dark place, God was refining him, building strength, teaching humility, preparing him for the palace. Sometimes God allows delay to protect you from premature promotion. You're not just waiting for the promise. God is preparing you for a ... In Genesis 39:21, the Bible says, "But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love and gave him favor, even in the prison." God never left his side. Then came a moment of hope. 2 of Pharaoh's servants landed in the prison. Each had a troubling dream, and Joseph, gifted by God, interpreted both dreams correctly. The cupbearer, whom Joseph helped, was released before he left. Joseph begged him, "Remember me. Mention me to Pharaoh. Get me out of this place." But days turned to weeks, weeks into months, and the cupbearer forgot. Joseph was left waiting, not for 1 month, not 2, but 2 whole years, 2 years of silence, 2 years of asking why. 2 years of wondering, did I miss it, God? Did you forget about me? Then suddenly ... In Genesis 41, Pharaoh has a dream no one can interpret. And the cupbearer finally remembers. Joseph is brought out of the dungeon quickly shaved, clean, and presented before Pharaoh. Joseph interprets the dream, not by guessing, but by saying, "It is not in me." God will give Pharaoh the answer. General 41:16. This moment wasn't luck. It was the result of years in the prison of preparation. God didn't just release Joseph. He elevated him to second in command of Egypt, just like the dream said, but it came after betrayal, slavery, false accusation, and waiting. Joseph's story teaches us this. 1. Delay doesn't mean denial. God's silence is never absence. If you're waiting, you're not forgotten, you're being shaped. 2. Every place has a purpose. The pit, the palace, the prison. None of it was random. All of it was part of the promise. 3. God's timing protects your destiny. Joseph could have been released early and lived an ordinary life. But when God opened the door, it led to national influence. Sometimes you're not waiting for the promise. The promise is waiting for you to mature into it. When Joseph later stood before his brothers, the same ones who betrayed him, he said this, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Genesis 52:20. That's what waiting with God does. It transforms bitterness into purpose. It gives your pain a testimony. And Joseph didn't just survive the prison. He saved nations from famine because he didn't give up in the silence. Do you know who else had a prison season? Jesus. For 30 years, he lived in obscurity. No miracles, no crowds, no fame, just waiting. But in the quiet of Nazareth, he was growing in wisdom. He was being prepared, and when the time came, he stepped into his purpose. God often hides greatness before he reveals it. Maybe you're like Joseph right now. You're faithful, but unseen. You're doing right, but still stuck. You prayed, but the door didn't open. God is not punishing you. He's preparing you. The silence isn't rejection. It's sacred preparation. And when God finally says, "Now is the time," no prison wall can hold you back. So if God hasn't said yes yet, don't quit in the prison. Stay faithful. Stay humble. Stay ready, because when God says wait, he's preparing something greater than you imagine. Joseph's story wasn't delayed. It was divinely timed, and yours is too. Drop a comment. God, I will trust you even in the wait. Subscribe for more powerful Bible stories that speak to your journey. Share this with someone who feels forgotten today. Next in the series, when God said no, David's denied desire.